everyone, it's Danica here. I'm super thrilled to be joining the Empire of Posh page. Excuse me while I get my phone situated here. I have the tripod I normally have, but I actually lent it out to a friend yesterday who needed to use it for her friend who is doing a talk at church. And I haven't got it back yet. Oh, you like those? I did those today. I'm not gonna lie, man. I got pretty for you girls. I don't often get pretty, but on occasion I do. And I don't clean up too bad. But yeah, see? Gotta get the eyebrows. I'm trying to think. Oh, what was it? It was some fun stuff. It's from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. Yes, pumped up for some training. So I won't wait too long in this camera. We're just gonna hope that I got enough juice. I think I do. It was the cord acting up. But anywho, so my name is Danica Young, and I have the great privilege to come and talk to you ladies and gents tonight about an area that I am particularly passionate about, strangely enough. And that would be taxes and tips and tricks, particularly for direct sellers. So why would I have such a crazy fascination with such a anticlimactic type of industry? Well, the way that works is that I actually am an accountant. That's what I do. I have my undergraduate and my graduate degree, both in accounting, and I have been the controller for multi-million-dollar organizations. My most recent experience was that for a Native American casino here in my town of Lawton, Oklahoma. So I actually oversaw all the accounting operations for that property and our sister property about 10 miles north of us. And collectively between both properties, our like net revenues after all the expenses and everything were paid were a little more than $30 million a year. So that was a lot of numbers that I had, and that's our net, our gross revenue. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. Like, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if it was like seriously in the high hundreds of millions of dollars as far as gross receipts. It's crazy how much they bring. Actually, I probably could do the math on that because I know the whole numbers. But anywho, I won't be waiting too long. I see a lot more of us are jumping on. But like I was saying, so definitely have some experience because I've had to do a lot of tax returns and filings to various, government agencies because of my job. I've been doing my own taxes since I was 16. I actually learned in one of my classes in high school and have just done them ever since, and just continue to do them. So yeah, so I do that. It's actually a dream of mine, pop quiz for later in case we ever meet, that as a side business to Posh, because I make Posh my full-time business, actually have a bookkeeping and tax preparation services for direct sellers, because it is absolutely an industry that goes unloved. We're unloved, and I just can't have it anymore. So, all right, let's get started on a few things. So first and foremost, what you ladies and gents need to remember, because I'm sure there's some guys in here too, and I don't want to forget you, is that you have to treat your business like a business, meaning you absolutely need to make certain that you are keeping all of your expenses, purchases, even income that you make in a completely different separate account. It can be a business account, but it doesn't have to be a business account specifically, like it says business account at the bank. It could just be another regular personal checking account, but it just absolutely needs to be something completely and totally separate. And here's the reason why. I already know that we're going to get lazy. We're going to get lazy, ladies. It's going to happen, and you are not going to keep a receipt, or you're going to lose a receipt. And here's the thing. It's much easier to track those kinds of things if everything is going on in a single account, as opposed to interacting it with all of your own personal purchases. You just don't want to do that. So if you're like at Walmart and you're picking up some copy paper and some printer ink and whatnot, and while you're there you happen to be picking up groceries, that's cool. But do two separate transactions. Do not be putting those things on the same receipt. Oh my gosh, you're just asking for a nightmare and your accountant to hurt you. and we don't want that. Speaking of accountants, so after I left my job at the casino, and I left it. It was crazy. I was actually making some really, really good money, and I left it for another job that was going to give me more flexibility due to Posh, but that didn't end up happening. So I said deuces to that. But I was actually working for a CPA firm. I was their staff auditor, so I got to do that. And I actually was working on various tax returns too when I got there. And let me tell you, there's a number of things that I learned. Will your pro pay counts work? They can work. However, you have to know that the only money that can be added to your pro pay accounts is the money that Posh adds from commissions. So it's more like a payroll type of account and not really a true checking account. And I know that because when I first signed up for ProPay, as everyone did when it first launched, for those of you who were with Posh at the time that we got ProPay, I called them and spoke with them and asked them about a routing number, an account number, and it was made very clear to me at that time that this was not the kind of account that had the ability to accept monies in. So you can use your ProPay account to help keep some of your expenses, departmentalized out, but you're going to need more than that. You're still going to need another bank account. And again, this has to be something that is just separate than your everyday stuff, whether you're by yourself or with a spouse or whatever the case may be, but everything needs to definitely be separate. Now, there were questions as it relates to inventory, because some of you are like, do I need to keep track of inventory? And for the purposes of taxes, no, you do not need to keep inventory. And people are going to be, I'm already sure somewhere's hooting and hollering about this, but let me tell you what, I've looked it up, and there is a line that the IRS read, and I'll have to pull the publication that it belongs to, but only those individuals who have $1 million or more, and I actually think it's 5 million, but I'll need to check that. It's either 1 million or $5 million or more in inventory, have the requirement to account for it as such on their financial statements. So here's the thing. You don't want inventory as far as on the books. And the reason for that is this, is that individuals like ourselves, we are on a cash basis for bookkeeping and accounting. So that means that we record something when money actually exchanges hands as opposed to when the transaction happened. So what's the difference? So for example, in a regular business, when you're doing like real accounting in the sense that you're doing accrual accounting, you're trying to match your revenues and your expenses together. So like whatever revenues certain expenses helped generate, they need to be counted towards that time in which said revenues were generated. And so there's a lot of accruing that has to go on. And it's a hot mess is what it is. Accruals are a hot mess, ladies. You don't even want to deal with it. Some of you are getting all excited talking about, but I want to take my inventory. You don't need to take your inventory. It's not necessary. Now you can do it every month if you want to, and that's fine. But in the end, it's going to have absolutely zero bearing on your tax return, because here's why. When you buy inventory, what it is to you as a direct seller in the tax group that we're all in, and I mean, like, we're all in here until somebody around here starts making at least $1 million or more, which it will in the future. I know, I can already see it, but I don't know when. That's not something that you worry about as far as inventory. You just don't. It's an expense is what it is. When you make that purchase, that is a straight up expense to your business. That hits that bottom line and minimizes that, income until you sell it. And then as you sell it and you're able to sell it all and you account for that revenue, that's when you're going to start seeing, that positive income there for your financial statements. But there is no inventory for you to have to keep track of. Although it is good practice just to keep inventory. You should do that. But if you were freaking out that you didn't do a count at the beginning of the year, or you were freaking out that maybe you're going to be away from home when the new year rolls around to not be able to count, rest assured that that's not anything that you need to do. right? Angela, you've had money deposited from outside sources to your ProPay? If you did, I need to know how you did that. Now, I know like you can transfer from one ProPay account to another, like from consultant to consultant, but I haven't seen that, so we'll have to look at that. So what do you need when you go file your taxes? Okay, so I have for you a couple of publications you'd want to look at. Now, here's the thing. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, you're going to make me read. Well, you might not have to be the one to read it all. These publications are actually really very short, and a lot of what it is that I know and have been able to put into practice, not just in my personal life, but in my professional life, has just been by going through and simply reading these publications. They're written at, you know, like ideally they're written at like a middle school age level, so it should be something that should be easy enough for everyone to understand the basics as far as what it is it's trying to share. And there's a lot out there. Here is the thing. Whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So whatever, you know, tax deductions there are, whatever breaks that there are when it comes to businesses in general, it doesn't matter if you are McDonald's or Coca-Cola or Nike or a business of just one person. It's the same for everyone. So don't feel guilty about utilizing those deductions to which you are entitled to use because somehow you are afraid that you're going to end up getting audited. Here's the thing. If you took the deduction legitimately, then you have absolutely no worries when it comes to an audit. And the minimum, like, it is so ridiculous how few people, like compared to the masses that actually, you know, submit tax returns, get audited. It's like almost none by comparison. So that's not something that people should freak out about as far as worrying about, again, taking deductions you're entitled to. So what are some of those things? Because I know some of you have asked. So I've got my publications pulled up here. And here's the thing. There are going to end up being 2 forms, possibly 3, that you're going to be needing to use in addition to your 1040. So as everyone should know, our 1040 is our main tax return to the federal government for our income taxes. So one of the things that you're going to see on there is Schedule C. Schedule C is going to be one of those forms you're going to need to include because Schedule C ultimately is the financials of your business. So it's going to talk about your various expenses, and it even has various line items on there for you to see the kinds of deductions that you have. So when it comes to your Posh purchases, everything you buy for Posh is a tax deduction if you do it right. Everything is a tax deduction. So what I'm saying is that, oh, can my personal use be a tax deduction? Absolutely. And how do you do that? How do you make sure? Because here's the thing, when it comes to the IRS, all they want to know is that, can you prove that your personal purchases weren't really personal, that they were for business use? Absolutely. How do you prove that? You do a video of the unboxing that you get in the mail, and you post that to your Facebook page. You do a product review of said products that are in the box. Every single product, not every single container, but I mean like every different kind of product you have, you know, take a selfie with it, take a video with it, doing a review. And that can be used absolutely for the purposes of, you know, customer education, you know, product research, you know, and that's not me trying to be funny, like that is legit. So if you are going to be doing anything Posh, so everything from the portal, all of that is business tools. All of that is marketing and promotions, every last bit of it. So all portal. Your starter kit is an investment. That is a business expense. It is what you had to pay to start your business. And you can absolutely write off the cost of your kit. let's see. Ooh, so here's the thing. If we are all home-based businesses, every last one of us. So there are, deductions that we get for, being a home-based business. Because we don't have the expenses of just like a regular brick and mortar store. So since our house, or at least a portion of our house, is treated as such, we can write those off as the deduction. And the way that that works is that it's a percentage of your square footage. So let's say, for example, we're going to make the math really easy, that I have 1,000 square feet in my home. And that 100 square feet of that is my designated Posh office where I do all of my business. So that is 10%. So 10% of my home is used for my business. So what I would do is that I could just create a schedule, a list of, here was my rent, here was my utilities, here is the internet, anything that relates to the household, put that in a spreadsheet, and then every month just go across and be like, well, this is what I paid in rent. This is what I paid in gas. This is what I paid in everything. So you actually know what the costs were to keep up the household for every month. And then because your office was 10% of that, whatever that total was for the year, you get to take 10% of that and write that off as a deduction for your business. Now, there are some additional rules for that. And what's really nice is that I actually have it pulled up here, and I will post links for you guys to look back at this because I want to make sure. So there is publication 334, and it's called Tax Guide for Small Business. And this is for individuals who will use Schedule C. So as I mentioned, Schedule C is something that you will be using. There's also a Schedule C Easy, like a C-Easy. I haven't seen that particular schedule, but I can't imagine it being much easier than the C. Like I said, there's quite a bit for those. So yes, we have that. Let me see. Mileage. Oh my gosh, mileage. Ladies, be tracking your mileage. Anytime you run an errand for your Posh, whether you are picking up something from the Dollar Tree, whether you are going to the post office, whether you are buying supplies at Hobby Lobby, whatever the case may be, track your mileage, because that mileage adds up to a huge deduction. Like, I'm going to be honest, with as much mileage as each of us does for our business, for the most part, because that adds up so quickly, that could easily wipe out like half the income that you would even have to pay taxes on. Like, super easy. Last year alone, I'd have to double check my report, but I know I had over $3,000 in mileage that I was able to write off. Because anywhere I go, if I'm traveling in the car to the airport so I can go to a day away or a Premier Con, that's business related. I write that off. There's so much that you can write off for your business, and you should, because there's no reason that you shouldn't, quite honestly. I mean, tax evasion is a no-no. You cannot evade the taxes, but tax, what is it? Like, when you're putting it off, that's okay. You can't run from it, but you can avoid it, at least for as long as you may be able to, depending upon how certain carryovers are allowed. Yes, Mile IQ is amazing. And that's right, it is a write-off. So anything that you ladies do that helps you for your business, like, I know that maybe some people have heard of like the tag team, Party Peeps. Maybe you've bought some of their training. Maybe you've bought some books on Amazon, like Eric Worre's Go Pro. Any kind of training, any kind of personal development, every last one of it, any kind of app that you use for your business. So let's say you wanted to get crazy and pay for an app that's like $5 a month to do super awesome videos and or photos. That's a business expense. That's a write-off. So make sure that you are keeping track of that. So here's the thing about oil changes, tires, things when it comes to your car. Can we write off? Yes, you can write off shipping charges, anything that you pay. Okay, so when it comes to cars, let me tell you about this. You get so much more bang for your buck if you just track the miles and then times your miles. So the IRS got a little stingy this last year and lowered the rate for mileage for this current calendar year. Now, I haven't seen what it is for 2017 yet, but I'm going to find out. But for 2016, it's 54 cents. So 54 cents a mile is what you get to write off. And that 54 cents includes, you know, taking into consideration gas, oil changes, you know, normal wear and tear. But here's something people may not know. Tolls are not included in that mileage, you know, amount. So in addition to your mileage, if you happen to have to pay tolls as well, you get to write off those tolls too. So that's nice, because I originally thought that the mileage rate included tolls in it, and it did not. And it says here that it doesn't look like the IRS has told us yet. Yeah, the IRS has not yet released the mileage for 2017, but at least for this year, it is 54 cents. And so I'm currently in Oklahoma, and I have family in Kansas City, and that's a 500-mile one-way trip, right? You damn well believe that every time I go, I take Posh with me. Every time. I do at least make sure I do one-on-one. I scatter some samples in old places that I love to hang out and talk to people, because while I'm there, I still get to visit with my family. But because I conducted business, that mileage to and from Kansas City, that's $500. $500 right off right there. Boom. But you have to conduct business. Can't be shady, because we're ladies. You got to do it right. But there's a lot that you can have. Let's see what I have here. Okay, so keeping track of different kinds of expenses. So like I saw a question about like donations for the foundation, or there was questions about team incentives and things like that, like things that you take out of your stock. And I use Square. I love me some Square. Square.com. You know, the people that do the process paying, they are fantastic. And I love it actually as an accountant, because there's so much in there. Square has the capability to do inventory for you. Like, you put in an inventory count, and you can even tell it, hey, when I reach a certain amount of this product, send me an alert so I know that I'm low, so I can buy more, so I don't run the risk of, you know, running out of stock. But there are different kinds of payments or discount codes that you can put in there. And so, like, for example, I do a lot of donations to local silent auctions. And so what I'll do is I'll put in my Square, I'm like, oh, I'm donating a Snarky bar, and I'm donating, you know, this chunk, and I'm donating this other thing. And then I'll hit the, you know, charitable donation discount, which is 100%. So then it's going to zero it out, and then I'll just, you know, push it through and finish the sale. So that does two things. If you're keeping track of your inventory in there as far as how many you have on hand, then it's going to decrement what you have in your inventory correctly, and you'll have a report that'll show it leaving your inventory and then telling you what it's for. Oh, I donated this. And you can even leave comments in with each transaction as to, you know, who it was specifically. But that's what I have. I have a 100% discount. It's a donation button there in Square that I created. And that's how I do my cash and carry. And not just like at events, but I'm just saying, like, wherever I would sell anything that I have on hand. Even if the person pays me in cash, I still use Square to provide them a receipt, and again, to use the inventory method that's in there so it decrements correctly, and I can continue to keep a good solid track on what it is I do have on hand for those of us that like to do that. See, okay, let me see. Especially write-offs to cancel. Collecting our write-offs we don't make money on. Tasha, yes, you can absolutely claim that mileage. Now, here's the thing, though. This needs to be mileage like on your own car, your own vehicle. So, for example, like if you girls and guys were wanting to do like a road trip to a day away, and whoever car you're in, that would be the person that could write the mileage off. Not everybody in the car can write that mileage off. It actually has to be on your own vehicle. Yes, like you said, make sure there's that. Here's the thing, when it comes down to it, there are so many deductions that we are eligible for. If you actually take the time to make sure you understand what they're all for and take them as you should on your return, quite frankly, it's going to look like you lost your ass on paper. It just is. When that really isn't the reality. Like I said, I alone had a $3,000 write-off for mileage on my car. And that was just one thing. When you add in, you know, the money that we pay for the trips to Day Away, the money that we pay for the trips for Premier Con, even those of you who are going to be party crashers, those are all business expenses. Don't think that they're not, because they absolutely are. So, and then there's even different things when it comes to meals and entertainment and all of those different kinds of things. You should be taking off a percentage of like your cell phone bills if you're running your business through your phone and having your, you know, your phone number listed on business cards and things. I mean, there's so much that you can do. Let's see. Yes, rental cars. Well, so here's how a rental car would work. You wouldn't take the mileage on a rental car, but you would take the cost of having rented it, and you would take that as a full expense. Let's see. Yeah, there's quite frankly, yeah, I mean, when you really take the time to go through and take everything that you are entitled to as a business owner through the medium of direct sales, for people that quite honestly that are at that, even at maybe regular Premier level and under, you're gonna look like you lost your shirt, and that's not very well the case. I mean, what you are profitable from a tax perspective is very different, because you know you have your tax books and then you have your regular books, and there's some things that you are able to take advantage of that you can't do so in, you know, one set over the other. But yeah, for anyone whose husbands are freaking out like, oh, this is going to cost us. Girl, if you have, yes, let me talk about it. If you have a husband or if you have a wife that is super duper anal about taxes and they would love nothing more than to get the man, print out some of these publications that I'm going to share links to and just stick it in your bathroom. You know, those fools are going to miss bringing in their phone or something. They're going to get bored. They're going to see it and they're going to start reading it. And then they're going to be like, ooh, I didn't know we could do that. Oh, we could do this. So people get really interested really fast when they learn how they can benefit from this. So owning your own business is amazing. And definitely there's a lot of tax benefits to it too. So for those of you that are really super concerned, let me assure you, until you really start making that Oprah money, shouldn't be so freaked out, because it's going to be okay. I promise you, it is going to be a-okay. But there are some things you will have to follow. Again, you need to make sure that you're keeping your business activity for any kind of payments, whether you are, you know, writing a check or collecting deposits, needs to be in a separate account. Your ProPay account is a good account to have and use, but I wouldn't expect it to be your only account. You need to be able to also have another one. Although someone did mention that they've experienced the capability of people being able to put deposits in. That hasn't been the case for me or when I inquired, but I'll definitely check it out again. Because if it was set up in such a way that it was just like a regular checking account, except we don't have checks, we just use the cards, then yeah, that would be perfect just to have the one. But until I can verify that for sure, you're going to need regular access to a bank. Airfare? Hell yes, airfare. Airfare is most definitely an expense. How would you claim your cell phone bill? Well, the way that I think that the IRS would do it, they would be anal. Like, so this is like the super anal answer to your question. I am sure that there is a simpler answer, and I will find that for you. But to always side on the air of caution, the way that you do that is you do an analysis of your phone numbers every month as far as who you called or who called in, and tag each one as either personal or business. Like each one would have to be tagged that way. And then you would do a ratio. So let's say, for example, to keep the math easy, your cell phone bill was $100. If you went through and you were able to determine through your phone calls and whatnot, and your text messages, that you use your phone for 65% business, then you could write off 65% of that cell phone bill. That's for sure a good answer. There may be a simpler way to do it than having to go through each and every number that's come in and out for that, but I would have to double check. Or what you could do is that either close out the account that you have now, or transfer to a new account that is actually it's actually a business account, and you can put it in a business name, whether you use, your name, Perfectly Posh Independent Consultant, or whether you have decided to do an LLC, whatever the case may be, just make it a business account. Do you count? So Tasha, you want to talk about, oh gosh, so there are definitely tips and tricks to these kinds of things. Now let me preface everything that I'm saying is that I am not a licensed professional in any state. These are just my thoughts. I definitely suggest that you verify certain things that you may want to consider implementing with your own professional tax person. That's not to say that I don't know what I'm speaking about. That's basically just to cover my ass, because I'm not trying to have anyone be like, well, Danica, I'm letting you know now, I'm not licensed, but here's some guidance that I can provide. So for family, really the way that you could do that is become an LLC. Become an LLC. You can either do it as a sole member, which is just one person, or you can do it with your spouse. And then work your Posh business through the LLC. So for example, I was not new to direct sales when I joined Posh. I actually came from a different company, and I had already had an LLC in place at the time. So I signed up for Posh not as an individual, but actually as a business. So when I signed my consultant agreement, there was a field that says business name, and I gave it my business name. And then when asked for my social, I gave it my FEIN that I had gotten from the IRS after I had started my LLC. So now my business is actually technically the consultant, even though my name is recognized, my regular name is recognized like on awards and different things like that. And you have your husband. Well, technically if he's part of the LLC, if you've hired him as, VP product tester or whatever you want to do, whatever the case is, if they're going to go to you for these things, if you can prove like, hey, he helped do this, and with the different things that are going on, if there's any kind of training of any sorts that they go to or attend, hell yes, it can be a business expense. Like I said, if you run your business like a business, you will be amazed at how much awesomeness is coming your way, not just in the forms of all these, deductions that you can take, but also in the income that will come along with it. Rebecca, yes. If you haven't capped the miles, but you have your receipts and you know how far it is to and from the post office, you can definitely document that down and take that as a deduction. If you were tracking mileage, you would not need to track gas receipts. It's either one or the other. Generally, you would track like the actual total cost to operate the car. But then again, you're still going to end up having to track mileage no matter what, because then you're going to do a ratio between personal use and business use. Just taking the 54 cents a mile, I promise you, you are going to be so far out ahead, better than doing the actual cost. And that's the thing you need to remember, is that there is generally always more than one way to calculate a deduction. So like the IRS, they have a simplified version for your home, like when you're, doing a deduction on like your rent, utilities, all that. It's actually $5 a square foot for a maximum of 300 square feet. So that's $1,500. So just know that in the back of your mind. So if you happen to have square footage that, when it was all said and done, was actually less than the 1,500, you have the option to pick the higher of the two of what would benefit you most. So definitely try both methods, the simple way and the actual way, and see which of the two is in your favor, and you are allowed to pick the one that favors you better. Does it cost to start and have an LLC? Yes, it does. It will vary by state. You would need to check with your Secretary of State as to the filing fee for an LLC. It will vary by state. I've seen it as little as $50. I've seen it as much as $100 and $200. A lot of these can actually be filed online. Like, you don't even have to go to the office in person. You can submit it online. And then after that, you would go to the IRS website and you can request to have an FEIN, and that's free. And the reason, as you go through and you fill out the reason why you're asking for it, it's for banking purposes. That's going to be one of the questions that they ask. So there's that. Let's see. If somebody's been keeping all of their receipts, that's going to be great. You'll definitely use those for your records when looking to see what your expenses were for the year. You think you'll be deducting more than your income. Is that okay? Yes, it is okay. The way that it works with any business, not just direct sales, is that there is a period in which you are allowed to have a loss as a business before your loss is considered to be a hobby, because they don't want people pretending to run a business when it's really a hobby and then taking all these deductions and then doing it for decades at a time. And so there are limitations. And the way that it works is that it's 3 years out of a 5-year period that you can show a loss before you have to prove that it is not a hobby as opposed to a business. So for many of us, we're not even anywhere near close to that threshold. But it's 3 and 5 years. But I think there's a certain way that 3 shows up. Like, I don't know if it's like 3 consecutively or just over that time. But I do know that there's at least 3 years that you can show as a loss before you would have to worry about your activity being considered a hobby by the IRS. So let's see. You have a PayPal business account with its own debit card. Is that the same as a... Yeah, it is definitely considered another account for sure. Basically, any account that you use, regardless of how you access it. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be a traditional bank. PayPal definitely would count, because I have a PayPal account and it's just for my business and I track things through there. Yeah, Angela, if the PayPal account you're using has only ever been for personal or has only ever been for business purposes, then it's fine as is. You shouldn't need a different account. Let's see, just scrolling through here, I want to make sure. Yeah, and Kelly Wilson, I was looking at, as long as you've kept all your receipts, those are good. How do we jot it all down, Anastasia? There's different things that you can do. There are various programs that are out there, and I can certainly share links to those for you to check out. One that I know is great to use, and I haven't used it in a while though, but it's free, which is awesome, and it should work for most any of you, is going to be mint.com. mint.com. Mint is actually ran by the same people who do TurboTax. And what Mint is, it's kind of like a souped up checkbook register is what it is. It's generally, depending upon your bank, has the ability to import your various bank account statements and things of that nature. And so it already populates it into a check register ledger. And then you would just go to each individual item and then just tag it to a particular category for income or expenses. And then just based on going through and tagging each of those different ones, it'll, categorize them together, and you can run reports that say, hey, I've spent X number of dollars in postage this month or this quarter, or I've spent X number of dollars in team incentive prizes this month or this quarter. So you can definitely do that. Turn off that TV, please. I don't know why these kids, I don't know what these kids are thinking. Well, I see it is getting a bit late. I don't want to keep you ladies on here forever. I know you're going to have a ton of questions. I will say this, I will definitely be doing more trainings on this, more detailed ones that go in different directions. I really wanted to make sure that I took the time to go through your questions that I saw that some of you had in the specific post that Jamie had put about questions, and try to answer you individually, and then also try to get to some of the questions on here. I will go through this feed once I'm done recording and look at each of your individual questions and do what I can to get those answered. But here's the thing, don't be scared. If at the bare minimum, what everyone needs to do, if you haven't done it already, make sure that you have a separate account that you're keeping all of your business transactions a part of. That is a must. That is absolutely essential. Again, this is a business. You've got to treat it like a business. It cannot be shared with your regular personal stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong in doing transfers from one to the other, but as far as like actual, expenses and payments and things like that, it really needs to be kept to just the one. I'll also post different links to different publications you will have an interest in to peruse through and look at. Those are going to be great for you, and I'll be on a Tuesday training on this very topic, so watch out for that. That's actually coming sometime mid-December, mid to late December. There's going to be an entire Tuesday training on taxes and how you can do all these different things, learn all the good stuff on being compliant and staying up to date and making sure that you get the most bang for your buck. What about credit cards? Actually, you can. I do have a credit card for my business. Now, that's not a choice that everyone wants to make, but if it's something that you have an interest in, you absolutely can, and should have a credit card just to build your business's credit. Now, as with anything else business related, you don't want to be making personal purchases on there at all. You want to make sure you keep everything related to operating your business on those cards. Let's see. And yes, it can be a bit overwhelming, but it's okay. We're all going to get through it. It's nothing to be scared about. One more thing. I know that somebody had asked, well, what if you don't get a 1099 from Posh because maybe your commissions were less than 600? Well, you can still claim that income. It's just the IRS won't have a any report of it. But here's the thing. Anybody who's willing to claim any money to the IRS that somebody else didn't already report on their behalf, they're thrilled. Yes, because that means that there are people who are voluntarily reporting and paying their fair share of taxes. But here's the thing. If you have less than $600 in commissions, even if you're just now starting, I can assure you could quickly add up at least that in expenses by the time you start taking so many different things into account, like, you know, your stuff from the portal, your starter kit, any inventory you do choose to purchase, although totally optional, you know, the space in your home that gets used, you know, there's so many different things. But yes, so definitely don't miss out on the opportunity to lower your tax liability by not claiming anything from Posh simply because you don't get a 1099 from them. You absolutely should, because it's to your benefit. It's absolutely to your benefit. Okay, well, it looks like, yeah, it's about 7:49, about 50 minutes worth. Don't really know how long your trainings go, but I'm sure this is probably long enough for some of you. Hopefully you don't want to nab your eye out, but it's going to be okay. I promise you. Tax season is not as crazy as it may feel. There's definitely different tools out there that you can use that is going to make it really easy. And when it comes down to it, just working on your business portion, like this administrative portion of your business, just once a month, even just once a month, and do it on the 10th or close to it when you get your, you know, down your bonus commissions or whatever the case. And take that time to, like, okay, let me put in everything from the previous month and let me put in everything from this month, because it's not often that you're going to be doing something every single day. It's usually going to be maybe a couple times throughout the week. It's 4 weeks in a month. You're really only going to have a handful of transactions, but if you do it even just once a month, you would be so thrilled at how little you really have to do to prepare for tax season, because you've been preparing for it all year round just by keeping up with it. And so there's that. Can we print out? Yes. Yeah, you can print out your orders. It'll show. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you, Jamie, for the opportunity to come out here to the Empire of Posh and talk to you ladies a little bit, and gents, about taxes and different things you might want to be mindful of. Hope you all have a great night. And if you have any questions, post them below. I'll be happy to jump on there and answer those for you. So thanks very much, and good night.